Welcome to Limited Bash Customs. My name is Zach, and our heads have come back from the machine shop. So that means it is time to reassemble our Subaru engine. So put it back in the car, get this thing running, move it on. So I've already cleaned up our surfaces on the engine block. So I'll drop the new head gasket in. Put our head on. Right way around, yep. Come on, where are you? Located on the dowels. There we go. We've oiled our bolts up in the hole, screw them down finger tight, and then we'll go through the tensioning sequence. One thing I like to do is get a paint marker or a texture or something, just put a little dot on each of the bolts. White's probably not the greatest colour, but it'll be right. So that I know I've completed that lot of tension, just in case somebody interrupts me or the phone rings, something like that. I come back, I know exactly where I'm at. Because you really shouldn't get interrupted while doing these. Okay, it's 2 rounds done. Our next round, we're going to back these things off 180 degrees. Righto, so we're going to go through and do all the bolts twice before we start our final torque down procedure. So I backed off all our bolts, 360 degrees, 2 lots of 180. It's now time to start torquing them back up so that our heads will be torqued to spec. So I've got all our bolts nipped down again to 34 Newton meters. Now we're about to do some degrees. So each of the bolts now have to be done up at 90 degrees. So we get our tool set on 90, and here we go. And lastly, we've got to do bolts 1 and 2, another 45 degrees. That's one head torqued down, and yeah, flip it over. Let's do the other side. Okay, apologies, it's raining quite hard. I hope you can hear me okay still. But I also made a problem with hitting the record button on the camera. So somewhere along the line, I pressed record. I ended up taking a phone call or talking to somebody, and I've recorded myself doing a whole lot of nothing. And then when it came time to record me doing some work, I've hit the record button, I've installed the cam gears and a couple of other things, and it turns out I wasn't actually recording any of that. But not a lot's been done, and nothing all that important either. But we have cam gears on and some covers, that kind of stuff. Anyway, the stage we're at is we're going to be installing the timing belt kit, so we've got a new kit for that. Once the timing belt kit's on, we'll be able to adjust the valve clearances, and that'll allow us to bolt the rocker covers on, sealing this motor up a little bit more. However, I'm going to go home now. It's pretty late. The power's flicking on and off because we've got a pretty big storm coming, and I'll get back to this tomorrow. So I'll see you in a minute. Bye. And we're back for day 2 working on our Subi engine. Hopefully this time we'll get a whole lot more done. Starting off with the timing belt, but it is Easter long weekend. I'm on call for the breakdowns, which is why it is taking me so long to get anything really done here, as I keep having to answer phone calls and getting called out. So essentially we probably should have had this together yesterday, but we've got another 3 days. So let's get started before I get called out again. So we're adjusting the valve clearances. Basically all we're doing here is changing this screw to take up that bit of slack. So I've got it on top dead center compression stroke for this cylinder, and I have the required measurements that need to be. So we're using our feeler gauges, slip them underneath, then we're going to wind the screws down or out depending on what they need. And we're looking for that small bit of resistance between the feeler gauge, the valve and the rocker, so we know it's right. Once we've got that spec, we nip up the nut, hold it in place, recheck it. We just do that until they're all right. So we've got our valve clearances done on both sides of the engine now, the intake and exhaust. It's all sweet. We've wound the motor over a couple of times, nothing's clashing, which is beautiful. So now it is time to throw the rocker covers over to help seal up the motor that little bit more. And yeah, let's just do that. So we've got our rocker covers on. We're now going to throw in a fresh set of spark plugs, which will help seal up our cylinders. We're done with anything turning of the motor over, so we don't have to worry about that being easy anymore. Just go ahead and screw these in. With that on, now I'm going to throw our timing covers on. So our engine is starting to look like it's coming together. We're not far off putting it back in the car. We've just got to put our coolant pipe across over here, a couple of hoses, and then we'll be at the stage where we need to hook it up to the chain so we can take it off our engine stand, refit our flex plate bolts, and then position the car so we can drop it in. You know, just that easy. We're replacing all the seals and everything here, so out with the old O-rings, which are, well, they've still got a bit of flex to them. They're pretty hard compared to the new ones. Here's our new O-rings. Slot them in the holes. Nice. And on she goes. Our engine is starting to look a lot more engine-like, and we're at the stage where it can come off our engine stand and go on the chain, which allows access to the back to install the flex plate, and I believe a pipe or two from memory's got to go on, and then we'll be able to drop it into the car, which is currently sitting behind the camera there. But it's been another long day for me, so I'm going to call it here, and I'll be back once again tomorrow to do a little bit more. And I'm back for day 3, working on our Subaru. And if you may notice behind me, you can slightly see the engine is actually in the car. I didn't get any footage of that because it took me about 3 hours to put this in due to the number of interruptions that I've had. And anybody that has installed one of these engines before knows that they really aren't that difficult to do. So, nothing there, but our engine's in. Let's get back into it so we can hopefully get this thing started today. Righto, so starting off by installing the torque converter bolts. Got to get our flex plate and torque converter to line up, which I've already kind of done. Screw our bolt in. Get our torque wrench. Got it set to 25 Newton meters. So it's time now to throw our intake manifold on, and that will make it look like we're getting to a pretty complete engine, even though there's still quite a few bits to go afterwards, but here we go. Welcome to day 4. So day 3, we got our engine in, we got our intake on, and then I got called out for the rest of the day. So that was a bit of a no-go. And now it's day 4. If you look out the windows behind me, you'll notice it's black. That's because it's about 7 o'clock at night, and I've been busy all day. So I come in here this morning, I don't know, it was about 8:30 odd, and within 5 minutes of being here, I got my first job in, and it's been non-stop ever since, with multiple jobs lined up. And I have finally managed to get to an end, or at least a break. My first one for the day. Hopefully that thing stays quiet for the rest of the night. That would be lovely. Anyway, I'm currently here because tomorrow at 8 o'clock we open the shop up for regular work, and I was really hoping to drive this thing out because I don't really want to be having to tow it around all the time. We've got enough disabled cars here without adding another one to it. So my plan for tonight is we're going to put it up in the air and do everything underneath. So we're going to fit the exhaust and engine mounts, the bolts. I don't think there's too much to do, so that if we do have to tow it out in the morning, it doesn't have to come back in and on a hoist. I can work on it in the backyard, anything like that. I also plan to possibly come in here early before we open up to throw those few extra bits on. I think we need like a throttle body, connect all the hoses and the wiring. We're not worried about radiator or anything. Just enough that we can get this thing started, oil in it, and I can drive it out. Because that would make things so much easier. Anyway, I'm going to shut up, start working before that thing goes ding. We're also going to throw a new oil filter on it. She got a little bit of a dent. And also, we don't want to use the old oil filter with our fresh heads on it. So, genuine oil filter. Oil up the O-ring a little. Bang her on. That's not the right oil filter. Okay, so we're not going with the genuine filter because I had the wrong one and we didn't have the right one. So we're just going to use a Ryco. So again, grab a bit of oil, lube up the O-ring, spin her on. Oh, come on, go on. It's been a long day. There we go. Think that's everything underneath.
I mean, oh, there's bash plates and stuff like that, but later on, it's not anything required to get this thing mobile. Let's bring it down. Righto, day 5, we're in overtime. It's early morning. I'm gonna quickly try and smash some of this out so I can drive it out. I'm gonna shut up, get to work.
Really ready to run, or?
Yeah, I hope. Well, I mean, it's a long way I've actually been ready,
But it's startable.
I'm hoping to get it out. And it runs. Far from complete, but it's running, which means I can drive it out that door when we open it up. So thanks for watching. I'll see you when we finish this thing off.